One way to avoid paying ABSD for multiple residential properties.
Multiple residential property?
Let's find out.
Oh, let's find out, man.
I'm Ivan.
And I'm Shawn.
And together we are the co-founders of
Quadrant.
So the best way, right, to avoid paying ABSD for buying multiple residential property, right, is to not buy at all.
Ta-da! End of video. Basically, alright, you must understand that ABSD at the end of the day governs Singapore, right? So in this scenario, the way to actually buy multiple residential property in the world, right, or basically multiple residential property actually look outside of Singapore. As simple as that, right? But of course, the key thing over here is this: is that it does require a lot more, a little bit more maybe experience, a little bit more research, understanding about the overseas market before you will feel comfortable actually entering into an overseas market itself. Because Ivan, do you have friends around you that probably have gotten burnt in overseas property investment?
Of course,
Yeah?
burn in Malaysia properties or other countries, and they have very, very bad impressions.
Definitely, right? And then I think it doesn't help that, of course, most of the newspaper article will report failure cases rather than successful cases.
Obviously,
right?
otherwise
right?
this
not
will
very
not
got news
be,
already, right?
Exactly.
But I think the key thing over here is this: of course, in this scenario, are there failure cases? Definitely, but I would say that there will always be more successful case than failure case. Just what is the intention on it, alright? So in this scenario, guys, there are people who make money and lose money in Singapore property. Just because some people lose money doesn't mean that it's not investable. There are people who make and lose money in the stock market. Just because some people lose money doesn't mean that you can't invest in the stock market. Likewise for overseas property as well. There are people who make and lose money in Malaysia. There are people who make and lose money in Japan. There are people who make and lose money in Australia and UK itself. So the key thing over here is to really understand why do people make money and really then to model after them, okay, and then most importantly to look at what are the type of properties that they actually purchase.
Actually, right, like having you hear you say all this, right, I think one of the ways that we should be reading news or reading information, right, is to look at the probability of the scenario happening.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So one thing is like some people may lose money, but what is the percentage of people that lose? And the other thing is, right, to also look at the sample size. To, like, for example, to say that for example, my uncle lost money in the stock market, right? It may not be indicative of everyone in general. So it's also about finding the successful cases, right? And find out how were they successful? How did they become successful?
You know what's the craziest thing, Ivan? The craziest thing is that the average data, right, in the world, not just in Singapore, in the world, right, it states that property prices are on a continuous trend upwards. In Singapore, we are having property price index increasing at 2.4% per year, right? With the last year growth is probably even higher. Alright, in countries like UK, the average growth is around 6.9% per year, and so and so. So actually, if you ever lose money in property, you must understand that you're actually very, very below average. Because you don't really need to be very smart, ma. You just be average only, ma. You average, then you make money, right? So that's the beautiful thing about property, right?
Well, the key saying is a rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly, right? So
actually, it's not about even you're stupid, you still make money. It's not about that. It's about catching the right trend.
It's also catching the right trend to make more, I would say, is to really make more, right? I think, but the key thing here is that, of course, let's be brutally honest here as well. All right, so let's just discuss about why people even lose money in overseas property investment. Let's take a few maybe on top of our head. The first thing I can think of is that they enter into a country that perhaps have a very low occupancy data. Right? What does this mean? I mean, let's say, for example, if a country, out of the whole country, 30% of the units is actually not tenanted out. Right? Then the probability of you actually having, when you buy a unit and then it not being tenanted out is 30%. Right? So there is so in this scenario, you're actually subjecting yourself to a higher risk, alright, when you actually buy into that particular country.
Okay, so how would I look at this, right, is that if I buy into a country that has oversupply in properties, right, and it may take like 5 years or 10 years, right, for the demand to catch up with supply, right, this means I need to wait 5 to 10 years.
That's
so
true.
Why do I need to do that? You see, when we start to get outside of Singapore, right, the world is our oyster.
Yeah, oyster.
So just go and find a place, right, that has like
high occupancy rate lah.
Yeah,
you don't need
or
to be
demand
so
outstrip
or demand
supply.
outstrip supply, right? Then
Exactly.
like that you don't need to be so drama, right? So that's one thing, right? I think the number two thing that a lot of people get, not a lot lah, right? Some people, right, get into is that I mean, they choose to invest into real estate, all right? But
on a collective scheme basis.
yeah, on a collective scheme basis, guys.
So what is a collective
subject
scheme
yourself to
basis?
something like that?
Maybe we can explain this.
Yeah, so collective scheme basis means that you technically don't really own the property. So you are just owning a share of a particular property or a real estate or something, right? So there could be like 100 investors, there could be like 1,000 investors, could be like 1 million investors. You do not really know because you do not even control this particular property, and therefore
one case right that I've seen right is that people own like that. There's a hotel overseas, and people own like one unit within the hotel itself. But actually, because you only own one of the room, right, you don't own anything at all.
Goodness, then you can never sell it, right? You can't sell, right? So that makes exit difficult. That makes anything that you can't exit easily. It just means that you're just going to have a very tough time. Yeah, because you need the money, you can't liquidate it, all right? And that's a big problem by itself. Doesn't mean that the hotel is a scam. No, it could be a legit business, but you're just not in control in terms of your own money or what you can do. And of course, another big thing is that I see some investors, right? They get a little bit greedy. Right, to save that little bit of money, they go for a very, very small developer. Because let's put it in a very logical aspect, right? Let's say if there's this plot of land, right, and a big developer actually owns, let's say, 9/10 of the land, and then a small developer will try to buy around, all right, to have the uplift because of this big developer, right? In this scenario, let's say they will go to look at a big developer. Let's say the big developer asking for, let's say, 2-bedder, 2-bath, and let's say 300k pound. And the small developer, of course, they are doing smaller things, right? They try to be more competitive. Then they maybe sell at 290k pound, right? But the problem is this: you can buy from a small developer, end up if they cannot sell out their project, all right, or they get into financial issues, then they are gonna close down, and that's where you do not even get the unit in the first place. So you lose everything just by saving that little bit of money. Yeah, so one thing to really just be a certain offset, you got to buy from very reputable developer, especially if you are very new to this whole real estate and investing overseas.
Exactly. So I feel that if you are first time buying or like you're buying your second or third property, right, go for reputable ones.
Definitely.
Then after that, if you have like if you like drama, you like taking the roller coaster, going up and down and having that kind of feel, then yeah, I think it's not too bad to go for like smaller projects. And, you make it, you like, whoa, I make a lot, but then you crash and you have fun.
Yeah, but at least at that point of time, you guys would have already acquired certain experience to make that decision, right? If you want to go for higher risk, higher return, right? Or go for a more safer bet itself. Yeah? In our sense, all right, how we win, all right, in the first place when we actually invest in overseas property ourselves is that we go this by not in terms of the collective scheme, right? But what we do is that we go to developer and say, you know what happened? What's the discount level that you can give us if you buy 1 unit versus if you buy 10 units? It's only natural that, of course, developers at the end of the day, they're still a business, they will give more discount levels if you buy 10 units as compared to 1 unit itself. And therefore, this is something that we are very proud of in terms of what we've created, because we benefit ourselves as well, is that we always go in to even buy overseas property at a discounted level. And because we go in at a discounted level by committing to more units itself, that is where then, of course, we buy it together. If I can buy, let's say, Ivan take 1 unit, I take 1 unit, say Benny take 1 unit, all right. Some, let's say, within Quadrant community themselves, they want to take 1 unit. We come together to have a stronger purchasing power. And with a stronger purchasing power, you have a stronger bargaining power. Stronger bargaining power, you buy it lower means that buying undervalue. Buying undervalue means that you make money from day one, all right. So that is some of the things that we have actually created for ourselves that we are very proud of, because that heavily benefits myself when I buy and invest overseas.
The money is made when you buy the property, not when you sell the property.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah. So so these are just few things for you guys to consider. All right, these are just some of the tips that you guys have. Right. My take is this once again, guys. Overseas property, really do your own due diligence. Really understand the country. I mean, if you really need to fly to the country, really go and understand a little bit of how they are. All right, and of course at the end of the day, there are so many different countries, so many different regulations. Alright, the countries that we invest in at the moment now, we are invested in like New Zealand, we are invested in UK itself, because those have more stable market. Alright, so largely more even than UK itself. So in that scenario, that's why I choose to focus my efforts and my capital into the UK market if I were to buy overseas property.
Yep. So once again, I hope you are learning something from this video. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and also subscribe to our channel. So I'm Ivan,
and I'm Shawn,
and we'll see you. Bye.